Hi everyone, this is Kyle, and this story here came out probably a good, I don't know, a few days or so ago now, and I'm finally getting a chance to comment on it now. Yeah, I had a bit of a busy week last week, but Taika Waititi on Thor Love and Thunder criticisms. If you want it to be like the comics, read the comic. This is from comicbookmovie.com. I mean, the last few videos that I've made, I've been kind of commenting on how the people in Hollywood, the people in entertainment, they don't really have any intention on actually respecting the source material that they're adapting, and this right here is just a little more evidence of that. Now, in some rare occasions where they do respect the source material, like most recently One Piece, it ends up being an overwhelming success. I mean, One Piece, highly viewed show, a lot of people are enjoying it, and it got a second season, very deservedly so. Now with One Piece, the creator of One Piece, that person was very heavily involved. I wonder if he wasn't heavily involved, would the showrunners be showing the amount of respect to the source material that they currently are? I don't know. You'd have to decide that for yourself. Now recently they had an adaptation for one of Agatha Christie's novels, A Haunting in Venice. The movie was called, based on Halloween Party. And the owner of the Agatha Christie estate, he said something like, Death on the Nile and Murder on the Orient Express, we were doing very faithful adaptations of those books, which those of you that have watched those movies, you tell me how faithful they were. But he then said for their adaptation of Halloween Party, let's surprise fans by doing something a little different here. I mean, people talk about changing the source material like it's a good thing, which, you know, if a certain story or if a certain book became widely popular, gained a lot of fans, and then you're going to be making a TV adaptation or a movie adaptation of it, fans are going to expect to see that story on screen, you know, as it was written. And all you have to do is stick to that story, and then you know, that adaptation, whether a TV show or a movie, it'll end up being successful. But people in Hollywood, they have no intention of doing that. Instead, in a lot of cases, they talk about sticking to the source material like it's a bad thing. In a lot of cases, a lot of times they'll try and convince you that it's boring to just follow the original story, because everyone's going to know exactly what to expect. I mean, I've said this before, the people in Hollywood, they are not entertainers, they are activists, and their intention is, you know, very oftentimes to inject their ideology into whatever they get their hands on. I also think it's very egotistical to take somebody else's work and, you know, change it, essentially. I mean, if you ask me, if you're taking a very popular story to begin with, and you decide, I'm going to make a lot of changes to this, you're essentially saying that story, which was extremely popular to begin with, you don't think it's that good, you don't think the original author of that work is that good, you think you're better than them, and you're going to improve their story. I mean, the showrunners for Rings of Power, you know, there was one quote that they were saying, could we come up with a novel Tolkien never wrote? Tolkien, arguably the most prolific writer to ever walk this planet. You know, Lord of the Rings, with an enormous fan base, people of all different races, creeds, religions, different languages. And the people who worked on Amazon's Rings of Power, they decided we're going to make a lot of changes to maybe the most popular story ever written. It's absolutely egotistical, it's malicious, and frankly, it's unforgivable. But anyway, back to the story here. Comicbookmovie.com, Taika Waititi, a.k.a. I'll ruin your mythos in a minute, baby. Taika Waititi on Thor Love and Thunder criticisms. If you want it to be like the comics, read the comic. Alright, I'll read a little bit of this. This is a pretty short article. Thor Love and Thunder had all the makings of the best Marvel Studios movie ever, heavily inspired by Jason Aaron's Thor run, and featuring both the mighty Thor and Gore the God Butcher. The right ingredients were definitely there. Among those was Thor Ragnarok. Taika Waititi, aka I'll ruin your mythos in a minute, baby. He successfully reinvented the God of Thunder in that 2017 blockbuster, and fans were excited to see what came next. Unfortunately, the result was a movie which largely disappointed and definitely didn't do the source material justice. Gore largely underwhelmed, and Jane Foster's story was heavily condensed and rushed. I forget, how good did Thor Ragnarok do at the box office? Give me 1 second. Okay, Thor Ragnarok, $850 million and change, so $180 million budget. I don't know, you guys who saw the movie, you tell me how good it was. Me, I'm kind of over superhero movies at this point. I've seen a few, like the original Iron Man movie, the original Thor movie, Captain America. At this point, they're making so many. Superhero movies, I'd say overall, they're not really my kind of movies. So you tell me what you thought of Thor Ragnarok. Taking in a newly released movie special book, Waititi, aka I'll ruin your mythos in a minute, baby, acknowledges that it was very difficult to find the right tone. It's an ongoing battle because I want my films to be entertaining, he says, and I want a lot of humor in them to poke fun not only at the idea of the space Viking. What is this statement here supposed to mean? But to also poke fun at humans, how we bumble our way through life on this planet. The comic run is very serious, and Jane's story is especially tense, and so to try and find humor around that stuff as well as making it an emotional story, that was always going to be difficult, the filmmaker continues. And we struggled with that, we wrestled with it throughout the edit, right up until we finished the film. We did funny scenes about cancer, we did way more tragic scenes about having cancer. Some audiences really loved the humor part of it, some audiences really wanted to just be like the comics. And here we go here. But you know, I always say, if you want it to be exactly like the comics, read the comic. You've got to change things here and there to make it a film. And this type of mindset right here, this exemplifies a lot that is wrong with Hollywood. I mean, you'll hear a bit of a different excuse every time they make changes. Right here, it's you've got to make changes in order to make it a movie or a film. Sometimes you hear, are we just going to go the boring route and stick to the story, or are we going to make changes and surprise people? You know, you hear some different reasons as to why they're not going to stick to the source material, but at the end of the day, I mean, Hollywood, they generally don't respect anything that they're adapting. Now, him saying this, you've got to change things here and there to make it a film, well, this statement right here, I'll ruin your mythos in a minute, baby, that doesn't really seem to go along with this statement right here, so I'm not sure if I buy this or not. But ladies and gentlemen, just one more little example of how, you know, Hollywood, when they adapt something, they generally want to change it. I mean, The Witcher, word was that the people working on The Witcher, they were actively making fun of the source material, whereas someone like Henry Cavill, who was a big fan of this show, he eventually left. Amazon's Rings of Power, they definitely did not stick to the source material there. Wheel of Time, did they stick to the source material there? No. You know, recently we had a Super Mario Brothers movie where, I mean, they did a better job of respecting the material they were adapting, but word was that Illumination Studios, who was working on the movie, they originally wanted to make a lot of changes, and Nintendo stepped in and they said no. And then recently you did have One Piece coming out where they actually did show respect to the source material, and it wound up being a big success. But you see another theme in there, like Nintendo, where Nintendo had to step in. They demanded that Illumination rewrite their script. And with One Piece, the creator for One Piece, he was very heavily involved. Everything had to go by him. You kind of see a common theme here where the creators of whatever story, whatever material it is, they're being very protective of their property. And that appears to be the only way that you can get a good, respectful adaptation of anything nowadays, is if the creators of that work really guard that work. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, if you consider hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you all very much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Take care until then.